Now, the Dáil seems likely to vote through a referendum question next month. The bigger question seems to be the laws that would follow if the 8th were repealed. On that, there's much less certainty, especially if the draft law allows for abortion on request up to 12 weeks. Before we discuss that with our panel, have a look at this. RTE's Boucher-Hayes has been telling me how Ireland's abortion regime compares to the rest of the world and the EU. Philip, where does Ireland fit globally in terms of our abortion laws?
It's very interesting. What I did was to look at data compiled by the United Nations and by the World Health Organization. So this doesn't come from either pro or choice or pro-life campaigns. And what you see when you look at 196 countries is a spectrum from very, very restrictive countries to the much more permissive countries with almost no restrictions, like Canada, which actually has no restrictions at all since 1988 when the Supreme Court there struck down all abortion laws. So there's unrestricted access. And then at the other end of the spectrum, the one that Ireland occupies, along with sort of a third of the countries around the world, is one where there is, in many instances, access to abortion when the life of the mother is at risk, but not any access in all of the other circumstances. Where the health of the mother is at risk, 63% of the countries around the world grant terminations. Ireland doesn't. Where there's fatal fetal abnormalities, 39% of the countries around the world grant them. Ireland doesn't. Rape, incest, abuse, 43% around the world. Ireland doesn't. So we occupy this space, or share this space, with countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, where Sharia law informs abortion law.
Then closer to home, how do we compare with the rest of the EU?
This is where it gets very interesting. We move from being among the third most restrictive countries in the world to the 7% of most restrictive countries. There's only one country in the EU that's more restrictive than Ireland, that's Malta. So in the case of access to terminations in the event of risk to health, mental health of the mother, rape, incest, abuse, 93% of countries across the EU will grant access to terminations. Ireland doesn't. In the case of access to abortion on request in the first trimester, fully 78% of countries in the EU grant that. There are only 6 countries that don't, Ireland and Malta being them.
If the government's proposals for changing our abortion laws are carried through, how would Ireland then stand in terms of its abortion regime?
Nothing short of a quantum leap, really. We're moving from this end of the spectrum where we occupy with Saudi Arabia and El Salvador right up to the 25% least restrictive countries in the world. So it might just be, if the Oireachtas legislates along the lines that you have suggested, it might just be a tick in the box or a press on the button in the Dáil chamber, but it will be a quantum leap from there to there.
Philip Boucher-Hayes and